Okay, let's talk about this. What if you could make serious money without actually working for it? That's what we're digging into today. This is going to be a super practical guide to building passive income that actually lasts. We're going to break down the real math and look at 3 huge milestones that honestly can change everything for you. You know, this quote just nails it. Earning money while you sleep, it sounds like a superpower, right? But here's the thing, most people go about it completely wrong. The dream is amazing, but the path is just littered with traps. So the goal here isn't just to make some passive income, it's about building a machine, a system that's going to keep working for you for years to come. So right from the get-go, you're at a fork in the road. You've got 2 paths. Path 1 is the dream, right? That's your steady, reliable $1,000 a month coming in from solid, stable stuff. And then there's path 2, the trap. This is where you're chasing those crazy double-digit yields, what I call fool's gold, because it looks shiny, but it hides a ton of risk.
All right, so that leads us right into our first big idea. How do you even tell the difference between a smart move and that fool's gold? And trust me, you're about to see why the most boring plan is actually the most exciting one when you're playing the long game.
This thing, it's got a name, the yield trap, and you have to watch out for it. So when you see some stock promising a 12%, 15%, whatever, dividend yield, your first thought can't be, wow, what a deal. It has to be, okay, what's broken here? Seriously, it's almost always a sign of trouble. Think of it like a huge clearance sale on a company that's about to go out of business.
So this is where you got to be honest with yourself. What's your goal? Are you just looking for a quick gamble, like a lottery ticket? Or are you trying to build a solid foundation, something that's actually gonna last? Because your answer to that one question, it changes absolutely everything. Okay, so we're gonna avoid the trap. Smart move. But how do we actually build the dream? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Starting at the bottom, we're gonna build a pyramid, and we're starting with the base. Let's look at the real hard numbers behind getting that first $1,000 a month rolling in.
All right, here's our target. $1,000 a month. Just picture that for a second. An extra grand hitting your bank account every single month like clockwork. And you didn't have to clock in for it. That's the goal. That's our base. And over a year, what's that? That's $12,000. 12 grand. Think about what you could do with that. I mean, for a lot of people, that could be your entire mortgage for the year, or your property taxes paid in full, or hey, an absolutely epic vacation every single year. It's not just a number, it's a life changer. So how do we get there without taking crazy risks? We use a nice, conservative, you might even say boring number, a 3% dividend yield. Okay, this isn't some wild gamble. This is the kind of steady return you get from massive, stable, blue-chip companies, the ones that have been around forever and just consistently make money. This is how we build a strong foundation.
Okay, and this brings us to the big one, the number that makes a lot of people's jaws drop. To get that 12 grand a year from a 3% yield, the math says you need a portfolio of $400,000. And I know what you're thinking. 400 grand? No way! It sounds huge, I get it, but just hang on for a second.
Because we need some perspective here. We see that $400,000 number and we gasp. But did you know that most people will spend over $600,000 on car payments in their lifetime? 600 grand on something that just loses value. When you look at it that way, suddenly $400,000 for an asset that pays you doesn't seem so crazy, does it? The whole game is just about redirecting that money from things that cost you to things that pay you. Okay, so the foundation is set. We know the goal. Now it's time to start climbing the pyramid. We're gonna break down the 3 big stages here. And I'm gonna talk about how not just your bank account, but your entire mindset completely changes as you hit each new level.
And here it is, the whole roadmap. Step 1 is the base, that $400,000 we just talked about. This is where your money finally starts pulling its own weight. Then you hit step 2, stability. This is around $650,000, and believe me, this is a huge psychological turning point. And then the top, freedom. At $1 million, the entire rulebook for work and life just gets thrown out the window. Let's zoom in on that middle level for a minute, because it's so important. Hitting that stability number, it's a massive shift in your brain. It's that moment where you suddenly realize, hey, if I lost my job tomorrow, I'd be okay. You're not starting from scratch anymore. You've built a real, powerful safety net.
No, seriously, stop and think about this. What would you do? What big career risk would you take if you knew that half your bills were already paid before you even got out of bed? Would you finally start that business you've been dreaming about? Would you go back and get that degree? Or maybe take a job you actually love, even if it pays less? See, this isn't just about money.
It's about opening up your options in life. And then you get to the top, the peak of the pyramid. Hitting that $1 million mark, it changes who you are. You're not just a saver anymore, carefully tucking money away. No, you are now an owner of capital. Your assets, your money, can now make more money than most people earn at their full-time jobs. That's a different world.
All right, the path is clear. We see the levels, but how can we climb faster? Let's talk about the cheat codes, the accelerators, the tools that are going to help you build momentum and just fly up that pyramid.
Okay, there are two really big ones I want to talk about. First, reinvesting your dividends. It's so simple, but so powerful. Instead of taking that cash payout, you just tell your broker to automatically buy more shares with it. Now, those new shares earn their own dividends, and it just creates this compounding snowball that gets bigger and bigger. The second tool is something called REITs. That stands for Real Estate Investment Trusts. It's basically a way to earn rental income from a whole bunch of properties without ever having to fix a leaky toilet.
And this is why REITs can be such a great accelerator. Your typical REIT might pay around a 5% yield. Now, that's a nice little bump up from our safe 3%, right? But it's nowhere near that dangerous 12% yield trap territory. It's kind of in that perfect sweet spot between being safe and speeding things up.
You know, once you get to a certain point, especially after you cross that $1 million line, something absolutely magical starts to happen. It's what I call the momentum phase. The math just starts to feel unfair, but this time it's unfairly in your favor. Your portfolio starts growing so fast that your second million probably shows up in like half the time it took to get the first. Momentum just takes over.
And through all this, we gotta remember what the real prize is, the real goal, true wealth. It isn't about the Lamborghini or the fancy watch. It's about having choices. It's about freedom. It's about being able to wake up in the morning and decide for yourself how you want to spend your time. You can't put a price on that.
So I want to leave you with this one last image. Building this passive income machine, it's like building a giant downhill slide. At first, it's a ton of work, right? You're sweating, you're grinding, you're hauling all the pieces up the hill. But once it's built, once you get to the top and push off, gravity just takes over. You just get to enjoy the ride. And that's what compounding does. It does all the heavy lifting for you. So the only question left is, are you ready to start building?